Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. This is the first video of Ben on Sports. We're going to talk about everything you can think of on this channel, but I figured what better time to start than the NFL season week 1. No other time like it. We're heading in the fall with MLB playoffs coming. All the other sports are coming right behind it. No better time. Welcome to the channel again. I hope you like this video. This is going to be a little series. We're going to do one every week. We're going to keep up with the record. And at the end, we're going to see how I did, maybe predict some playoffs. Who knows? But as you can see today, we're predicting all of the NFL Week 1 games. We're going to use my nice little Pro Football Network website. Pay no attention to any of the scores. The scores are just what the website does when you pick a winner. I don't know how they settle on it, to be honest, but those scores are not my scores. So if you see some funky scores out there, don't worry about it. That's not me. I'm just picking the winner. I'm not picking scores or anything like that. So anyway, here we go. Let's get into the video. All right, so here we go. We're going to start here with week 1. And we have a very interesting Thursday night football matchup here between the Ravens and the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are, until somebody can prove otherwise, they're the team to beat. They're the guys. Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the league. It's going to be really, really hard to dethrone them in the postseason. I think in the regular season, I think the Ravens are a serious threat to go 17-0. I think they're incredibly good. I think they feel upset about how last season ended, and I think they're going to come out in this Thursday night game, much like the Lions did, and make a point. And I think the Ravens are going to win this week 1 game. And then our second game of the week here, we have the Packers and the Eagles. I don't know how each team's going to travel to Brazil. I think that's to be determined. I think both of these teams are obviously going to be in the playoff picture in the NFC. How this ends up, we'll see. I don't really have a good feel for the game because, like I said, there's not a true home team. Again, they're traveling all the way to Brazil. They can't leave hotel rooms, stuff like that. It's a really weird situation. I love what Green Bay has going on, but I think Philly might be a little bit slighted because the year they had that last year, I think Hurts wants to prove to people that it wasn't a fluke season. And I also just think the Eagles have more veteran leadership, and I think they pull this one out. I think there's a little bit too many new moving pieces in Green Bay, and I think Philly's going to win week 1 in a weird game. Pittsburgh, Atlanta week 1, I really don't have any faith in Pittsburgh offense still, and I think a lot of people are sleeping on Atlanta. They have a lot of great pieces that they added. Kirk Cousins is going to be fighting off Michael Penix from week 1, I think, and Atlanta's defense has a chance to be really, really good. They were pretty good last year. They added an elite pass rusher and Matthew Judon. I am bullish on Atlanta's defense. I don't think this is the year they contend for a Super Bowl, but I definitely think Atlanta is a threat to make some noise in the playoffs, make the playoffs, win their division, and it starts week 1 with a win against the Steelers. I don't think I need to explain too much this game right here. I think the Bills are going to probably wrap up the Cardinals pretty easily. The Bills are missing a lot. Cardinals are trying to get better, but this is still a perennial playoff team against a team that's still trying to build up with a lot of new and moving pieces. It's just, I don't think this is the year for the Cardinals. Tennessee, Chicago, 2 teams that I think probably finish with a losing record this season. We're going to go with Chicago here just because they're at home. They did a little bit to help their quarterback. I think they have more pieces around their young quarterback than Tennessee does. Who knows what the defenses are going to look like. Cincinnati, New England. I think Cincinnati wins this game. I don't think I need a whole lot of explanation. I think this is pretty much the consensus here. I do think New England eventually gets some things figured out. I do think Drake May is the guy in New England. Cincinnati just needs to worry about staying healthy. I think they'll get Jamar Chase's situation figured out, and Jamar Chase will be playing week 1. And even if he does miss, I don't think they need Jamar Chase to beat the Patriots. Colts and Texans, 2 teams that surprised last year, 2 teams that were fighting for their division in the last week of the season. I think Anthony Richardson is an interesting dynamic in Indy, but I think Houston wins this week 1. I just think CJ Stroud, while he might be due for a little bit of regression, it's hard to replicate what he did in his rookie year every year. But I just think for now, Houston's going to beat them. I think that could be a little bit closer than people think it is. Miami, Jacksonville. Jacksonville's not a bad team. I think Miami's getting a little bit of hate. A lot of people are picking them as a wild card team. I think they could win their division. Um, Calais Campbell and Jordan Poyer, I think, are two underrated signings for that defense, and I think that defense could be really good under first-year defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver. So we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. But I think even if the defense is a little bit of a question mark with the new pieces and a little bit of a question mark with guys like Chubb and Phillips coming back from such serious injuries, I think that offense is going to be enough, especially in the Miami Heat. Granted, Jacksonville's not cold either. Um, Trevor Lawrence, ETN, like Jacksonville's got some guys, and I think they're going to rebound. I think they might push the Texans a little bit for the division, but I think in the end, Miami's going to win this game and surprise some people this season. Panther Saints is an interesting one. We have a team on the downswing in the Saints, and we have a team on the upswing with the Panthers. At least we think. I mean, they only won one game last year, so I guess it's kind of hard to say for sure if they're on the upswing. But spent a lot of money in free agency, which I think doesn't always translate to an easy win, but I think it can. Bryce Young with another year got him some weapons. Deontay Johnson, Xavier Leggett. Even though he's not healthy week one, they got him a rookie running back. We'll see. I have this with the Saints. I mean, their defense has been routinely good. We'll see what Derek Carr does. I want to believe in Derek Carr and the Saints. I want to believe in the offense. But Kamara's getting older. Carr didn't look like he had it last year, but I still think the Saints find a way to be somewhere around 500. I just feel like that's how they've been the last couple of years, and they're going to stay in that 7-10 to 10-7 range and be flirting with the playoffs. Don't know if they'll make it, but they'll definitely be flirting. Minnesota and New York, a battle of two teams that I don't think will be very good. New York paying a lot of money to Daniel Jones, and even though he's not near the top of the bracket like he was when he signed the contract with all the new signings this year and last, I just don't have faith in a Daniel Jones-led offense. I think Brian Daboll's first year was more of a scheduling thing. It was more of a surprise thing. I'm not buying the Giants at all. I don't think they rebound. I think they're 5 or 6 wins. It's going to be hard for them to get wins when 4 of their games are against the Cowboys and the Eagles, teams that are obviously superior to them. Vikings, I don't know. They have talent in a lot of places, but I think the Sam Darnold as a starting quarterback experiment has been shown what's going to happen. Solid backup, but with your rookie JJ McCarthy being out for the season, I just don't see Sam Darnold leading them to too many wins. I don't think either of these teams are going to have great records, even if they do have some pieces. I don't know who's going to win. This is a toss-up. I want to say the Vikings, and I think the Vikings might have a better year. But I think week one, new systems, a lot of new things going on in Minnesota. I think the Giants, just because they're the home team, probably win a really ugly game. Somewhere it might be single digits to single digits. I definitely think it's ugly, and I think the Giants only win because they're at home. Raiders and Chargers, divisional game week one. Those are always interesting to watch. Very important games. I don't know what to expect at either of these teams. I don't think anybody does. The Raiders really surprised a lot of people down the stretch, and I think Anthony Pierce, their head coach, at bare minimum has his players play hard for him, and I think that's sometimes underrated. His defense way outperformed what anybody thought it was going to do, led by Max Crosby. I think that's going to continue to get better. I think Gardner Minshew doesn't hurt their quarterback situation. I think Gardner Minshew is better than Aiden O'Connell, and I think Gardner Minshew can help lead them to wins. I mean, who thought the Colts were going to threaten to make the playoffs last year, and Gardner Minshew helped them with that after Richardson went down early in the season. And the Raiders do have some pieces. You still have Devontae Adams. You drafted Brock Bowers this year. You have the tight end you drafted last year. And I think that the Raiders could surprise some people, but I think they have a tougher schedule. They're in a tough division. And the Chargers got rid of a lot of their weapons, but I think Harbaugh wants to run the ball more. I think that Joe Alt pick was incredibly intelligent for the style of football that Jim Harbaugh historically has wanted to play, with running it first. They still have some guys on defense. They still have a good quarterback in Herbert. We'll see what happens. Again, I think this This is a game, it's kind of a toss up. There's no real clear candidate. We'll know a lot more about these teams after they play a game, which I guess is the case for all of these teams. But there's really a lot of question marks with both of these. Divisional game, I want to go with the Chargers because they're the home team, but do the Chargers really have a home field advantage? I guess so, and I'll probably pick the Chargers here, but I don't feel good about it, to say the least. Denver and Seattle is an interesting one. Denver completely remodeling large parts of their team. New rookie quarterback in Bo Nix. Offense looked really good in the preseason, but it is the preseason. But then again, historical trends have shown that the highest scoring offenses in the preseason still usually do well in the regular season. But I also feel like most of those offenses weren't being led by a rookie quarterback. So who knows what Denver's offense is going to look like? It still has some pieces. Seattle is an interesting team. Geno Smith has looked decent in Seattle, help lead them to the playoffs. They have pieces there. Lockett, Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Kenneth Walker in the backfield. Really good offense. Their defense has been good enough. I think it's an average defense. I don't think that they're good enough to challenge the 49ers for the division. But the Seahawks are good. They're also at home. I think Denver gets better as the season goes on, but I don't think they're going to be ready week one to beat a playoff team in Seattle. I will say, however, my bold prediction about Seattle is Sam Howell is their starter before the end of the season. I think he's a guy who showed a lot of promise in college. I think he's a guy that did not get a good situation in Washington and they gave up on him. And I think Geno Smith is, despite the money they're paying him, eventually the shine's going to wear off. And I think Sam Howell's going to take that job, and I think he's going to succeed with it. Tampa Bay and Washington. Tampa Bay really surprised me last year. I think Baker Mayfield surprised quite a few people. Tampa's a really interesting team. They won their division last year. I don't think they're going to be able to hold the Falcons off this year. I still think Tampa, again, is right around 500. They're in that group of teams that isn't bad enough where they're going to get a top pick, but they're not good enough to do anything significant, even if they do make the playoffs. I do think they win at home here against Washington. Washington, complete rebuild. They probably have 2 or 3 more bad years of football, even if Jaden Daniels is the guy. I just don't see a lot around him. They have Terry McLaurin. They have a good committee of running backs, I should say. A little bit worried about the defensive end. Still not a great offensive line. So even if Jaden Daniels is good, that offensive line's a little bit scary. I think week one coming and beating a decent average team in Tampa might be a little bit too much to ask of the Commanders. Cleveland and Dallas. This is an interesting game from a betting perspective. A lot of people in Vegas have Cleveland as the favorite, and I understand they're home and had a really good defense last year, but I do not know how anybody trusts this offense. Nick Chubb has been the guy there for so long, and I know that they were able to make it up in the aggregate last year. Flacco went on an insane run to end the year. Not in love with the running back situation without Nick Chubb. I don't love Deshaun Watson. I don't think anybody loves Deshaun Watson outside of football, but I'm talking specifically as a football player. I don't see where Deshaun Watson makes up any ground as a quarterback. I think this might just be who he is now. If he is going to put it together, I think this is the last year he can do it. I think Dallas has a lot returning. You know the offense is going to be led by Dak and CeeDee Lamb. You know that defense with Micah Parsons is going to be good. Plus, they're healthy now. They have Diggs back at corner. I think Dallas is going to force a lot of turnovers this year. They're really going to get after the quarterback. Their secondary is really going to put on pressure. I think if anything, their weak point might be their linebacking crew and stopping the run, but I don't think that's going to be that big of a problem. And I think Dallas just has too much talent and too many pieces to lose to a Cleveland team that nobody knows what their offense is going to look like, even with some of the additions they made at receiver this year. And I think Dallas is going to win that game regardless of who people think might be the favorite. Matthew Stafford's return to Detroit week 1. LA, Detroit. I think these are some similar teams. I know everybody's very high on Detroit. And I think they're still going to be good. I do think they might see the Packers, especially as the year goes on, might push them for that division lead. But I think overall, The Lions probably win this one. Week 1, a lot of excitement. I think the Rams aren't getting enough love. I think their defense is going to get better, and I think Matthew Stafford has been underrated, which is funny because he's won a Super Bowl recently. But I think since that Super Bowl, people have hated on the Rams. Stafford's dealing with some injuries, but Stafford's a good quarterback. They have the wide receiver. I think Blake Corum and Kyron Williams makes a heck of a 1-2 punch at running back, has some youth, and I don't think enough people are realizing that. I do think the Rams are a real threat to make noise in the playoffs. I don't think they win their division because the 49ers are that good. We'll get to that next game, but I think the Lions are able to pull this one out. And again, the Lions have a lot of youth. I mean, they have shown exactly how you should rebuild from down years. I think the Rams push them here. I think this game could be more high scoring than we expect, but I think the Lions are going to pull it out in the end. And then the last game of week 1, San Francisco versus New York. I know a lot of people are high on the Jets. Aaron Rodgers is back. He is old, but he's up there in age and he's coming off an Achilles tear. That's not easy for anybody. I still think even 80% of MVP Aaron Rodgers is still one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and he has the offensive weapons around him, especially at running back with Breece Hall. I think that defense, a little bit overrated, still a very good defense. There's definitely reason to have hope as a Jets fan here, which is very rare to have as a Jets fan. I still think the Jets are going to jet, and there's a real possibility that they miss the playoffs because, again, the New York Jets are the New York Jets. And the AFC is a very tough conference, and they're in a tough division outside of the Patriots. And I definitely don't think they're going to get it done week 1 in prime time against the 49ers. The 49ers are probably the best team in the NFL. It's probably between them, the Ravens, and the Chiefs. The 49ers are definitely the best team in the AFC. They got Trent Williams back. They have Brandon Ayuk back. That offense, we've seen what it can do last year. You can't Christian McCaffrey, best running back in the NFL. You try and stop the run with McCaffrey, and then you have Ayuk and Debo and Kittle you got to worry about. And you still have to worry about Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield. That offense is so hard to stop, regardless of how you feel about Brock Purdy. Shanahan is a really good play caller. Until you get in the Super Bowls, then it gets a little bit shaky. But we're talking about the regular season week 1, not the Super Bowl. That defense is going to be one of the best of the NFL. You got Bosa on one edge. You got Fred Warner. Very veteran defense. This 49ers team is really good. I don't care who the Jets are. I think at the Jets' best, they're still not better than the 49ers, and they're not going to be at their best week 1 with a quarterback who has essentially taken 0 snaps in almost 2 years. I think the 49ers win, and I think they probably win easily, might be by 2 possessions at home. And that's essentially how I think week 1 is going to go. Thanks for coming out and watching the video, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe. Like I said, this is gonna be a running series. I'm actually gonna try and keep track of the record, see how we're doing, and I'm gonna compare my picks to the actual standings at the end of the season. I think it'll be a fun series. In addition to like, commenting, and subbing, if you have any suggestions, leave them in the comment section on any ideas, any sports you want to see, and we'll see what we can do about that. Until next week, thank you. See everybody later.